I grew up in Ottawa. It was a great childhood, lots of fun, lots of great memories. Grew up on a farmhouse, I guess. And grew up in the country, had lots of scrapes and bruises and no broken bones, but lots of stitches and all the other things. Grew up going to church, never really had any memory as a child that didn't involve church to some degree, whether it be youth camps or youth conventions or, sleepovers at churches with other child Christians and teenage Christians. That was the whole thing. I didn't know what the deal was. I didn't know if this God was real. And certainly, when I was about 13, going on 14 years old, I wanted to have as much fun as possible. And so I started smoking pot and started chasing girls. Those were two things that I absolutely loved doing, was getting high and making out with girls. So, that was how my life was going. That was what was governing my decision making then. The thought came one day, maybe these Bible stories that we've been learning about in Sunday school, maybe they're real. And maybe this person, Jesus, is real. Maybe God is a real being. And if that's all real, then perhaps I should know this person. Maybe God has something for my life. And so I started wrestling with that idea, and I didn't know how to find God. Certainly I heard about him at church. I didn't know how to search him out. And so what I did was I would fast, and I would go for long bike rides in the evening, and I would ask God, if you're real, I want to know you. And if you're not real, then I'm going to go smoke as much pot and sleep with as many girls as I can, because that's about the only thing that makes any sense. And 14, man, that's when I didn't know it, but I was pursuing God, and I guess God was also pursuing me. He was chasing me. And 14 years old, I met Jesus. It was at a youth conference in upstate New York. You hear those cliched stories about Jesus, like it's like the eyes of your heart were opened, and it's almost like a light went off in your heart, and all those things you hear. But honestly, that's exactly what happened to me. It's as if there was a door to my heart, and God came in, and I guess I'd opened the door to him. I guess that's one way of looking at it, but that's where it was. I just needed to know him, and God came into my life, and it was fantastic. And so my life was absolutely transformed. Everything about my life became about God and became about Jesus. I dove into the Word. I started evangelizing people at my high school, started praying for Muslims who were fasting during Ramadan. They were getting healed. It was just, my life was consumed with this God. And it gave my life meaning and purpose, and it was incredible. And so the 14 was when I met Jesus. You fast forward a couple years, and there was this amazing guy, older guy at the church. I was in my 16. He would have been about 28, 29 years old. Great guy, smart. He asked to kind of come into my life as a mentor, and a lot of the leaders at the church, they said, "Great, man. You have as many mentors as you can. They're great." And it turned out the guy was a bit of not a bit. He really was a predator, and he'd abused me multiple times from 16 until about 17, and it was a crazy turn of events. One day you're flying high with God, and your life is amazing, and then the next day you've got trauma, and you now have PTSD, and you've got all these underlying issues that you don't know how to deal with. In fact, I don't ever remember, like, a lot of those years, like from 16 to 18, let's say. Don't remember a lot of it, but I do remember just a feeling of kind of emptiness. And it felt cold inside, like a fire that I'd had in my life. The passion for God, the passion for winning souls, the passion for doing well in school. Everything changed. And so, what are you supposed to do with that? How does someone overcome trauma? How does someone overcome PTSD? How does anyone overcome craziness in their life is the question I think a lot of people ask. And it's a great question to ask. I didn't know what to do. And at 18 years old, I was now legal drinking age in Quebec, so I ran over to Quebec and I partied as hard as I could. Drinking seemed to be the only thing that helped numb the pain that was deep inside my life. It scared me after a number of months partying, because I knew that there was a great chance that I would become an alcoholic. I knew that my life would be awful. I knew that I wouldn't be a good father. I knew I'd be a terrible husband. I knew my priorities would be completely out of whack, and it was out of control. At 18 years old, it was out of control. And stark contrast to how my relationship, my life was with God just 2 years before that. And so, what are you supposed to do? It's a question that I think a lot of people ask, is what in the heck are you supposed to do? Well, folks, because I knew Jesus, because I had this relationship with God before, I figured maybe this is a good place to start this process of healing, this process of moving on, this process of making my future better than it was likely to become. And so one day I just said, Lord, if you can heal me, if you can fix this crazy pain inside of my heart, if you can fix the sting of this memory of what this person had done, if you can take that from me, that mountain inside of me, I'll forgive this person. I'll let go of what this person has done. And I said, God, if you do, I'll tell as many people as I can about your healing power, only if you heal me. And so that was my prayer, and I left it to God. And one of the things I'd asked for was a Christian counselor, was professional help. Sure enough, there was a Christian counselor at one church in Ottawa. Started going to that church, left all my friends that I was drinking with, just quit drinking during that time, and really hunkered down. And I hunkered down with the Lord, and I began to pray. And 4 months after I prayed that prayer, 4 months, God showed up in my life in an amazing way. 4 months after that, I felt like there had been enough healing done in my heart that I could forgive this person. It was March of 2010. I remember the spot. It was in a school auditorium in Iqaluit in Nunavut. And while I was there, I was behind a camera, actually. And I just felt like I could forgive this person. And I prayed that prayer. God, I forgive him. I release him to you. Thank you for healing me. Thank you for taking this sting away. And God, I'm so appreciative of how you've loved me during this time. It absolutely changed my life. That year, 2010, I met my wife, Becky. We started dating that year. Just about 3 months after I forgave this person. I was in a place in my life where I really could focus on other things other than the brokenness in my life. I'd done a lot of inner healing, and because of the goodness and love of God. Everything changed after that. 4 years after I forgave this person, my wife and I were brought on to the Bill Prankett Evangelistic Association as the directors of the Arctic Hope Project, an Inuit-specific trauma and addictions, an Inuit-specific suicide prevention program designed to help teenagers who've been abused, who have trauma, overcome those things. And the way we do it is we introduce them to Jesus, we introduce them to the presence of God. Really the same formula that changed my life is we do that in Nunavut. We discovered afterwards that Nunavut has it's the highest suicide rates in the country. It has the highest youth abuse rates in the country. And who knew that God turning the craziness in my life around could have such an amazing impact. We've traveled to every single Nunavut community. We've spoken to thousands of Inuit across the territory of Nunavut. I have a wife, Becky. We've been married almost 8 years now. We've got 3 beautiful little girls. Oldest is 5.5, and twin girls on the way right now. All of that, folks, was absolutely impossible during that time where I was lost and I was broken. And if there's one thing I've learned, is that God can heal a mess of our lives and turn it into something amazing. In fact, in Romans 8:28, It's kind of been the staple verse for my life. Romans 8:28, it says that God can turn any situation around into a good one. And the only stipulation there is that you just love God. And God is so easy to love. And I can honestly tell you that love has changed my life. I forgave this man 10 years ago now, and I've never looked back since. So I'm so appreciative. I'm so happy that God can fix a mess in my life. He fixed a mess in my life. And if there's anything true for you, is that as long as God is in the equation, the story is not done.